It's been a long time since the medium of games has grown to house characters that are more than the sum of their parts. It's true that, just like movies and books, sometimes there are characters that only serve a singular purpose and play little to no role in the overarching narrative. However, sometimes developers and writers can play tricks with the players which might mislead them into thinking about a character in a certain way, only to then turn around completely after a certain story beat or revelation. To that effect, here are 10 such characters that you thought were useless, but not really. Thomas Downes' Red Dead Redemption 2. Rockstar Games' latest Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game about characters. In addition to the richly realized open world brimming with personality, Arthur Morgan's tale of redemption is also brimming with a complex and meaningful supporting cast of characters. Players meet Thomas Downes while completing extortion missions for Strauss, wherein a brawl against this person who is on his deathbed gives Morgan tuberculosis. As our beloved cowboy realizes that he might not even live long enough to see Dutch's grand plan come to fruition, even if it was any good to begin with, we start to see him change as he becomes a more empathetic and caring man than he was once before, a major courtesy of Thomas Downes. The Surgeon, The Last of Us 1 and 2. Much like Red Dead Redemption 2 before, The Last of Us is also a game about characters as the leftover remains of the human civilizations tries to fight back against nature and, of course, zombies. The story of Joel and Ellie develops over the course of their travels, which started with the purpose of using Ellie's immunity to develop a vaccine for the virus. Joel comes to realize that regardless of the fact that Ellie's immunity results in a vaccine, there's a risk that she might not survive the operation, to which Joel mercilessly kills all fireflies present in the hospital, including but not limited to the seemingly ordinary and helpless lead surgeon of the operation. In the world of The Last of Us, the answer to an act of violence is violence, which drives the surgeon's daughter Abby to pursue finding and killing Joel. Abby succeeds in her motives during The Last of Us Part 2, which sees players parting with one of the most controversial fathers we've seen in all of gaming. The Gravedigger, God of War. Before Daddy Kratos found his way to the Norse mythos, he was the ghost of Sparta, which saw him taking revenge for his long-lost family among a slew of other things. An encounter with a seemingly odd gravedigger who informs you that Athens needs your help, the gravedigger also vanishes in front of your eye, which raises suspicions about his real identity. After donning his robes in Ghost of Sparta, you come to the realization that he's actually Zeus, Kratos' father, who shapeshifted to avoid arousing any suspicion. BRENTILDA, Banjo-Kazooie. Rare's N64 platformer Banjo-Kazooie is well remembered by fans as being one of the best platformers of the generation, although you wouldn't find fans necessarily showering praise about its story of characters. Banjo-Kazooie doesn't have the best of stories, although it does house a rather peculiar character whose interactions are seemingly useless. BRENTILDA is the sister of Gruntilda and hides in her lair, wherein the protagonist duo can interact with her to reveal some rather interesting facts about her. At first, one might be forgiven to think about it as an inessential backstory, although that information is the answer to a question that would be asked in the quiz in Grunty's Furnace Fun. The Old Wheelchair Woman, Resident Evil 7. The Resident Evil series is known for having stories that are best described as convoluted, with mysterious characters doing mysterious things that somehow coalesce to form a conclusion during the end of the game. Resident Evil 7, being a revival of the franchise's survival horror roots, embodies the same sentiment. The story of Ethan Winter searching the Baker Mansion in hopes of finding Mia is one with a ton of twists and shocking reveals, including but not limited to Eveline shape-shifting into an old version of herself, which is seen in the game's iconic dinner table sequence. Eveline then follows Ethan around the mansion using her powers of the mold and causing hallucinations in Ethan's head to throw him off guard and eventually try to dispose of him. ARPEGGIO-SLY 2, Band of Thieves. Sucker Punch Productions' Sly Cooper series is chock full of charismatic characters that at times can be double-crossing. Case in point, Arpeggio in Sly 2. Arpeggio was the leader and chief inventor of the Claw Gang, wherein he wanted to use the clockwork parts and combine them with hatred to gain immortality. To achieve the goal, he betrays his gang and convinces Cooper and his gang to steal the clockwork parts and his ex-gang to kill two birds with one stone, although of course, he ultimately fails in this goal. Ati the Janitor, Control. Remedy Entertainment's Control is a game that intentionally leaves gaps in its plot and characters to create a game that's as much about your own interpretation of the story as what actually goes down in the Federal Bureau of Control. There's perhaps no better character in the game that embodies the ominous vibe of the game than Ati the Janitor. While not a lot is known about him, he has access to almost every part of this massive building, which is rather odd for an ordinary janitor. He also has a cassette player, which is a required item to cross the ashtray maze, which, again, is inarguably the best part of the game. Mayor Escade, Pokemon Coliseum. Pokemon Coliseum is considered by many to be one of the most innovative and original single-player stories in this otherwise rather samey franchise that's been growing strong for I don't know how many years at this point. During your travels, you will come across a rather aged and seemingly incompetent Mayor Escade of the oasis town of the crime-infested Phoenix City. Surprisingly, however, he comes around to being the final boss of the game, wherein he reveals that he is actually Evis, the head of the main antagonistic force of the game, the Cypher Gang. MOEL gas station attendant, Persona 4. The Persona series is known for having extensively long stories that have a ton of characters, and while some play important roles in the happenings of the narrative, others don't have a lot of impact. Persona 4 is all about a murder mystery that players need to solve over the course of the game, so it's rather interesting that a seemingly ordinary gas station attendant, precisely the one at the entrance of the central shopping district, is the actual culprit. The best part is that he also offers the player a job at the gas station. So much for friendship, I suppose. And finally, we have The Medic, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Ah, the medic from Ground Zeroes, the prologue to the Phantom Pain. Who would have thought that Kojima would play with us like a damn fiddle? Because why not? Because as it turns out, the medic who saved Big Boss in that helicopter crash is the lead protagonist in the Phantom Pain. Venom Snake is the Phantom Big Boss, not the real one. Venom Snake goes on to deliver the incidents surrounding the first Metal Gear, which took place somewhere close to Galsburg, South Africa, whereas the real Big Boss is behind the Zanzibar incident. So yes, there were two Big Bosses, and this is the reason why the real Big Boss survived the events of the first game. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below, and if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.